What's going on, everybody? I hope you're having a good day, a good morning and a good evening wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to another video. Today I am riding my Kawasaki ZZR 1400, or as it's known elsewhere in the world as ZX14R. Now today's topic is going to be about how to make yourself a safer rider. So this video is going to sound pretty lame because I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that you guys don't want to do. So tip number one, I know it sounds really lame, but try and stick to the speed limits. Now me as a person, I'm not an advocate of speed limits in the sense of how they're enforced. I do believe, however, that they should be used as a guide to indicate what kind of speeds you should be doing in a certain area. But I don't want them to be enforced. If someone wants to speed down a road, then, well, they should be free to do it. But obviously they may cause an accident, they may not be in control of the vehicle, what have you. Now I know that a large majority of you are probably going to disagree with that sentiment, that speed limits should not be enforced. However, I do think that they have a purpose in telling drivers and riders alike what kind of speeds you should be doing on any given road. Now that leads me on to my next point, which is actually probably fundamentally one of the most important things that you should be able to do when you're riding. This also applies to driving, but even more important when you're riding is be aware of your environment. Being able to anticipate what is going on in front of you. I was going to say what was going on behind you as well, but that is a little bit harder to do because, of course, when you're using your mirrors or when you're looking over your shoulder, it's normally because you're about to do a maneuver. Now I know that in the UK and in other countries, what you should be doing when you stop at a red light is keep the bike in gear at a standstill. Now I understand that's not always practical, but the reason why you're supposed to do it is if for whatever reason you see something going on behind you in your mirrors, then it gives you an opportunity to pull off because you're already in gear. You don't have to worry about putting the bike in gear and then moving off. You can just move off straight away, and in theory that's supposed to, I don't know, save you from a rear ending or something like that. But we're going to focus this video more on what you can anticipate that's going on in front of you. Now I'm talking about drivers doing silly maneuvers without looking in their mirrors or without checking their blind spots. I'm talking about drivers that don't indicate where they're going to go. There are certain ways that you can pick up a driver's behavior and then from that anticipate what it is that they're going to do. For example, if a driver is looking to change lanes but they're not indicating, they're not looking, look at their position on the road. If they're getting really close to the lane markings, like this for example, if they're going like this, getting really close to the lane markings, then try and think to yourself, well, what's their next most obvious move? Well, the next obvious move is they're going to turn. They're going to turn into your lane without indicating and without telling you. Now you'll get some drivers that will do that. They'll go really close to the markings on the road, and then all of a sudden they will indicate and then move off, like as if indicating all of a sudden gives them a right to be able to do whatever the hell they want. Obviously that is also wrong, so you should be anticipating that. But just just anticipate the driver movements, analyze their behaviors. Another example, if a car is at a T-junction and you are on the road, or in America, if there's a driver that is stopped at a stop sign, look at where they're positioning the car. If they are edging themselves forward to the line, getting really close, then it's a safe assumption that they're probably going to end up going for it. They're probably going to pull out in front of you. You have to assume that at every point during your ride, a driver is not going to see you. You have to just keep that in the back of your mind. Like, I know it's wrong, but it's to keep you safe, to stop you from getting into a crash, to look after you, and more importantly, look after the bike. So those are the first 2 points. Try and stick to your speed limits, and try and anticipate what a driver is going to do in front of you, and also behind you if you're capable. Another way to keep safe on the road is to make sure you put yourself in the right position on the road. You'll get some people telling you about how they're the 3 lanes on the road: lane 1, lane 2 and lane 3 for a motorcycle. Now what that means is lane 1 is on the inside of the road. Like here, for example, this is lane 1. I'm in lane 1 currently. Lane 2 is in the middle of the road, like this. This is lane 2. And lane 3 is over this side, on the outside of the road. This is the place you want to be the vast majority of the time. Here's the reason why. You want to be able to look ahead as far as possible into the future. You want to be able to see what all the cars are doing in front of you, what's happening. Now this bend is really convenient here because I can see what's going on for about half a kilometre. I can see the blue car right at the very top. Now bearing in mind I am short-sighted, so I can't see definitions or anything like that. I can see colours, I can see, you know, objects, and I can obviously assume that they're a car because I can see a yellow thing on the back of it that indicates a number plate. But give yourself that breathing room. Now at the moment here I'm really close to this car in front. I probably shouldn't be this close here. You want to try and keep your distance really, because obviously if they're all of a sudden going to brake hard, do an emergency brake for whatever reason, then you need to be able to anticipate that and react accordingly. For me, for example, if I was in this situation and they decide to brake right now, the thing that I would do is evade, because look, I've got room here. I can get through this gap here. That's what I would do in this specific situation. But I can see what's going on half a mile away, and you can anticipate what's going to happen from there. If you see something going on in the far distance where you can react to it here right now, it really, really does make a difference. And also, if you put yourself in a dominant position on the road, it stops stupid car drivers from overtaking you on roads that they shouldn't. So that's tip number 3, your position on the road and your vision, how far ahead you can see. Really important factors in your ability to react to a certain situation. Now here's some obvious ones for you. Riding gear, helmets, jackets, gloves, boots. These are all things that you should be wearing when you're out on a ride. If for whatever reason you are involved in a crash, you don't really want to end up with loads and loads of injuries. You want to be able to at least walk away from the crash and pick up the bike. That's the most important thing, picking up the bike. For God's sake, save the bike! Anyway, you get my point. If you live in a country where it is legal to not wear a helmet, please wear one anyway. For the love of God, wear a helmet. Regardless of where you are, wear a damn helmet. All of the good stuff is up there in your head. Your sense of smell, your vision, your taste, your hearing, not to mention your brain. So you really want to make sure that you keep a bucket on your head. Things like jackets and gloves, I would heavily advise wearing those. Today is a really hot spring day in the UK, 22, 23 degrees. And I'm still wearing my gloves, my jacket and my boots. I'm not wearing leather trousers, I'm just wearing regular old jeans. And fine, some of you will probably say, well, you should be wearing that as well. But it gives you that extra little bit of cooling, you know, around the crotch, and you know what I mean. If you've been riding for a while, you know exactly what I mean. It just gives you a bit of extra breathing room. Granted that all this kit is going to cost you money. It's going to cost you anywhere from 100 to 200 pounds or dollars to get yourself a decent helmet, and then another £200 to £300 or dollars to get yourself some decent gloves, jacket and boots. Yes, that costs money, but is that money worth more than your life? Well, when you put it in those terms, it probably isn't, right? But at least get yourself a helmet. You can wear other things. You don't have to wear leather jackets. You can wear fabric jackets. There are fabric jackets out there that have Kevlar inside them, and they're significantly cheaper than leather jackets. So you can definitely look at getting some of those if you can't afford the leather stuff. Here's another obvious tip for you. Check your bike before you go out and ride. Again, I know this is a lame one and it's a chore, but just look at your bike, especially at the tires. Give your tires a quick look, make sure there's no punches, make sure they're holding air. Double check all those things before you go out. It's gonna be an absolute pain if all of a sudden one of your tires blows out, because it's more than likely going to result in a crash. So just checking to make sure your tires are good is always worth it. The thing is that I'm saying all these things, but I'm also a human being. I also like to ride hard. I also don't check my tires every time I go out on a ride. I'm human. I do all these things. I don't always stick to the rules, because that's not what riding's about. Riding's about the freedom. Another pretty obvious tip, but it is really important nonetheless, is checking the weather. If you live in the northern hemisphere and it gets cold, really cold, 3 to 4 months of the year, or even most of the year, get a weather app on your phone and check the weather before you decide to go out. You know that if it is hovering around 0 degrees or less, that it is going to be freezing. It's going to be ice on the roads. So that's another thing you need to think about. There are going to be those riders that are going to go out all year, whatever terrain, whatever weather, however cold it is, all day and all night. There are going to be those riders out there. Fair play to you guys. But still, for the average rider, just check the weather. Make sure, one, that it's suitable for riding, as mentioned, but also make sure that it is suitable for you in the sense that you're not going to get really cold, because there's nothing worse than not being able to operate the gas or the clutch because your hands are too cold. That's the one thing that really gets me, is my hands being cold. I absolutely hate it, and it happens really easily for me. The rest of my body is absolutely fine, but my hands always get the worst end of the deal. You can invest in warm grips. You can invest in those, but in my experience they don't necessarily warm your hands up as you might like. Your hands eventually are still going to get cold and potentially numb, but that option is there. So it might work for you, it might not. Your mileage may vary. Staverton. Going back to anticipating your environment and being aware of your environment, things like ice and gravel can be really dangerous on a bike. Ice for obvious reasons, but a lot of people, they mistakenly think that gravel is okay to ride on. It acts exactly like ice. If you're going too fast over gravel and you decide to use your front brake or something like that, the bike's going to tip over, because the front wheel is just going to lock up. There isn't going to be any grip, because all the grip is underneath the gravel. A little tip there for you: if you do have to brake and you find yourself on gravel, try to use your rear, don't use your front. Use your rear brake, because if that locks up, you'll still be able to control the bike. And as soon as you end up actually finding grip again, you'll be able to stabilize the bike. But you won't be able to do that if you lock up your front. Or at least it's very, very hard if you lock up your front. Another thing you could do to help your riding skills is go on some advanced riding courses. That's another option out there for a lot of people, especially here in the UK and the US. You could definitely do some advanced riding courses that will help you in a lot of situations. Overtaking, safety when overtaking. You must look ahead of you, obviously. You must look ahead of you. However, if you're going to overtake, the main thing you need to do is do the damn overtake. Do it as quickly as you possibly can. You don't want to be on the opposite side of the road for any longer than you have to. If you have 200 horsepower at your disposal, use all 200 horsepower to get past that obstacle. It sounds quite obvious when you think about it, but the amount of people that I see on the roads that overtake at a snail's pace, oh, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely infuriating. I hate it. So don't do it, folks. So a lot of the things that I have mentioned today are riding skills that will keep you safe, not necessarily equipment. Equipment will only get you so far. The best thing to do in the event of an accident or a crash is to not get involved in the crash in the first place. That's obviously the best way to stop yourself from getting hurt and to make your ride safer. This is just a guide for you. You don't have to do any of the things that I've just said, but it does give you a fighting chance in keeping you safe on the roads, because that's all that we want. We want as many riders on the road, not less. So the more things you can do to help yourself safety wise, the better. So that just about wraps up this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, or at least have taken something away from this one today. Be sure to give it a like if you agreed with me, give it a dislike if you didn't. Make sure you subscribe and share and all that other good stuff. Help this channel out. These motor vlogs are fairly unscripted. All I do is give myself a question and see if I can answer it whilst I'm out on a ride. I obviously try and think of some bullet points that help me along. But yeah, if there was anything that I've missed, then feel free to drop it in the comment section below. We always appreciate everyone's advice, so make sure you guys in the comments, if you have something important to say, then say it to the public. It's an awesome community to be a part of. So make sure that you do that if you have any further advice for newcomers or experienced riders and the like. But yeah, thanks again for watching, guys. Keep yourself safe, keep it green, ride hard. I'll see you in the next video.